Well, first of all, talking about ego is not like your worst enemy. It's also a tool. It's just that you gotta be able to activate it and deactivate it as a light switch. When am I gonna turn my ego on? When I cannot go the extra mile that I'm pushing until the last mile, or like when I cannot finish training session, the weight's too heavy and I'm gonna lift it up in the last set. I will. So that's when ego can be turned on.
Hello, friends. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Mayn Idea Podcast, where today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Francisco Sinistro Iturralde. Please let me say a brief note about new show sponsors. This show is now brought to you by Athletic Greens, Bubs Naturals, and Vivo Barefoot Shoes, all of which are key components to my daily health, wellness, and fitness routine. To support the show, you can use the links in the show notes or on my Instagram, which will provide various discounts for each brand in the bio. Regarding sponsors, I want the listeners to know that any brand or sponsorship you hear about on the show will have been personally vetted by me, utilized consistently, and put through the test of jiu-jitsu, strength training, and surfing prior to being invited on as a sponsor. I do this so that I can share these tools enthusiastically in hopes that they help you optimize your health, because the healthier you are and the less pain you're managing, the more you can enjoy life and train. The other way you can support this show is by taking 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify and subscribe to the YouTube channel. This helps the show get discovered organically and helps me continue to bring on amazing guests. There's also now timestamps in the show notes for your convenience, so feel free to jump around to the part that interests you most, although I always recommend listening to the episode in its entirety. A quick note about this episode specifically. Given the recent legal case involving my guests, we were not at liberty to discuss the matter in any capacity. Out of respect for Sinistro and the people involved, we purposely did not venture into a discussion about the details of what happened, nor the outcome of the court case. I want you to know that up front so that you can enjoy this episode for what it is: an insight into an incredible, dedicated jiu-jitsu practitioner, father, surfer, and studio owner. I hope that you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Without further ado, Francisco Sinistro Iturralde. Well, Francisco, thank you so much for taking the time to be here, man. One of Encinitas' finest. I've had recently the pleasure of getting over to Gentle Arts and training with you. Super technical, pragmatic, awesome academy you got going over there. So I appreciate it, with a child and an academy taking the time to be on the show.
Oh, thank you, Gabe, for the invite, and thank you for stopping by, Gabe. It was awesome to have you there for a class. As you saw, Friday noon class gets pretty gnarly. A lot of training. Mats gets full, steamy in there.
Yeah.
If you ever,
It reminded me, like, when I started training up in LA at Macon Carvalho, which is the academy that I started training there. It's in a basement and there's no windows. There's no, they have air ventilation and stuff like that. But when I was training with you guys, it reminded me a lot of that. You're like close proximity. You have to have a lot of spatial awareness to know like where the next roll is going on. And then the heat. There's something about when it's hot like that, it just brings all the training up to a different notch.
yeah, it definitely makes you a little tougher when you trying your best, but also you cannot breathe, you cannot take a deep breath. It's a lot harder. So we're trying to recreate your feeling of exhaustion already of the back. It's like heated yoga. So we're pretty much doing a heated jiu-jitsu class.
Yeah, it's like Bikram
Yeah,
Jiu-Jitsu.
kind of. Yeah.
um, in preparation for this, it was funny when I put you in my phone. I put you in my phone as Sinistro, and then when I looked at the card that you'd given me, I saw that your name was Francisco, and then I read about that. And Sinistro is a false cognate. In Portuguese means sinister, but in Brazilian it's like slang to mean out of the ordinary, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like gnarly, and also I'm like
Yeah.
ambidextrous, or like use techniques on different sides. So like this strength sinistro is also a way of saying right and left. So yeah, I
Oh,
got
because I was going to ask you.
I got the nickname.
When I was driving home, I was like, that he's the least sinister person I've met. Like, you're such a nice person. a absolute killer, but like very nice, very welcoming, very generous. And I was wondering, how did you get that nickname
And
in the sport of
and you
jiu-jitsu?
gotta understand that I got this nickname when I was 12 years old. So that
Even
was
better.
the less sinister stage of my life for sure. I
Right.
was a young teenager. So oh yeah,
Right.
just my professor, of course, Brazilian instructor. If anyone who's listening trained with a old school Brazilian person, you get a nickname first day of class. It's like the professor will never remember your name. You don't have an identity. You go to Jitsu and it's like you
Huh.
get baptized with a new identity. And this is you from now on. Sometimes you get lucky, you get a cool nickname like mine. Sometimes you're not lucky at all and you have like freaking big teeth and like a big mouth. You're a freaking horse. And that's how they're gonna call
Right.
you until you're your black belt, you know? So
Right.
it's like Bushesha. Bushesha means cheeks. So just because the guy has big cheeks, they call him Bushesha. So sometimes you get stuck with a main nickname and you get bullied all the way to your black belt, pretty much.
So that almost makes me think of like, like you join the military, you get your head shaved, right? It strips you of your identity of like who you think you are, and it makes you everyone is the same at that point. Is it something like that, or is it literally like the professors just can't handle that many people's different
Uh,
names?
to be honest, in South America, bullying doesn't have a name. Okay, you get bullied all
Yeah.
your life, and it's just your friends being your friends. No one's sensitive
Yeah.
about being bullied in the in South America. So your parents bully you. Of course, I don't bully my kid. Like I understand that
Right.
I have to respect people now and give people their place and allow them to be the way they are. But when you're growing up, your kids are calling if you're overweight, they're calling you all sorts of names. And like if you got big teeth, they call you all sorts of names. So like you're freaking tough. By the time you're a teenager, they just being punish you every single day by whatever thing that you just don't care about nothing anymore. So I think that there's that culture that when you get intimate with someone in South America, they like
Mhm.
call you names, not as a way of disrespecting you, but as a it's kind of like to mean that you're part of the team, you're part of the gang almost. You
Yeah.
know, so
Like a
it's more
term
like
of
yeah, it's
endearment.
more like a welcoming thing. Like if they call you by your name, that's too serious. You know, like only my mom will call me by my name.
Right.
Like only my friends will call. Like I have big ears, dude. Like I got bullied so much when I was growing up because of I have big ears. And thankfully, when I had cauliflower ears, they kind of like fix them and tuck them back a little more.
Yeah.
And now people don't mess with me at all because I got big ears because I got cauliflowers on them. But yeah, when I was a kid, it was
Yeah,
no,
I
yeah,
would
and
love to I would love to be hanging out with you when someone decides to make fun of your ears. I'm sure that
it's
would be
funny, dude.
sure that would
It's
go really
funny
well.
because a lot of people, and I can tell people's intention because some people are crazy, dude. Some people are like,
Yeah.
literally, I don't know if they're dumb or they like defying death because they go to like the craziest looking person in the room and they try to pick up a fight with them. When I see someone that has
Yeah.
such a weird energy or such a hype energy, sometimes people are on drugs too and like makes them believe they're Superman,
True.
whatever.
True.
So I feel like someone comes over me with an energy like that, like, oh yeah, what's up with your ears? You're a fighter, huh? UFC or what? What's up? I'm like, no, dude, I play rugby or I was
Yeah.
born like this. And you see people's faces when I say I was born like this, they're like, oh shit, I'm sorry, man, my bad. Like I don't want nothing. Like if someone tells me like, "Oh, UFC, what's up?" Like I don't want to talk to you most likely,
Yeah.
you know. So I just cut
Right,
up
right,
right
right.
there, and I played defensive game right off the bag, and then I disengaged completely from any talk at all. So yeah,
It's
it's a
always been
blessing.
interesting
It's
to
a
me.
blessing and a curse, dude, with the cauliflower ears. I almost like
The more I've been around people that are uh, elite level practitioners, people like yourself that have like in any situation, you are very able to take control of the situation in like a methodical way. And the more I'm around people like that, I realize that they don't want anything to do with those situations. It's the aggro, broy, like super macho, douchebags who don't know anything about themselves, who have never trained a day in their life, that seem to think that they're so much tougher than they are. And they're the ones picking the fights. They're the ones getting in people's faces. But the real people who are actually dangerous are the ones going like this, you know?
Absolutely. I think that picking up fights is a sign of weakness. Bullying
Mm-hmm.
people is a sign of weakness. I think that if someone is confident, doesn't need to prove anyone anything. So if I'm hanging out with four other friends and I want to be the coolest one in the gang, I'll go do stupid stuff. No way. Like I'm
Right.
the one who's gonna have the most control. I'm the one who's gonna take care of the situation. Like I'm never gonna overdrink and not being able to take care of myself or my friends or people
Right.
around me. And same thing, like I've been in many situations where I have a friend that gets heated with someone else. I'm like, hey dude, like just leave it like that. But hey, if you wanna fight, go ahead, fight. I'll watch you. Like I'm not down to
Yeah.
fight,
Not worth
not
it.
down for fight for a friend, for no one. Unless you're trying to hurt me, my family, my kid, my wife, like that's the only way I'm fighting back. Like if I cannot run away from it. But dude,
Right.
it's not worth it. I had one of my best friends got killed because he tried to uh, take someone's side on an altercation. He went to uh, stop someone who's actually treating really bad an elder person, right? Like someone like full of
Mm-hmm.
rage started going.
Where was
This
this?
was in Mexico. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he went to like mediate so the person wouldn't be aggressive with this older person, and then got shot, man. So I think we have to be very aware of what fights we want to fight. And
I mean, well, even extremely sad, the Leandro Lowe situation, right? I mean, that's a situation where someone who's not escalating what's going on, trying to downregulate it to stop the situation. And there's just, there's crazy people in the world, man. Crazy people out there. And you never know. You literally have no idea who you're dealing with at any moment. That's one of the reasons I love jujitsu so much, is because you do kind of know who you're dealing with, people you trust. Like when you go, I can show up to an academy like yours and train with you guys. And I honestly feel like at the end of that training, there's 10 people that I trust. I actually trust them because I'm willing to, in that moment, put my life in their hands to some regard and know that at the end of the day, I can tap and they're going to stop and we can start again and we can learn and we can get better. And that builds trust and camaraderie. And you get to see who they actually are by how they act in a controlled
yeah,
setting.
and you gotta go through a lot of filters to step on a jiu-jitsu gym. First of all,
Yeah.
if you got so much ego that you have a gun on you wherever you go, just because maybe you're not gonna pass that filter to make it into a jiu-jitsu gym, and depending on the intentions as well. Like I'm not saying I'm pro gun against gun. I actually think like everyone should be able to do whatever they want to do, buy whatever they want to buy, but uh, for sure the intention of people, man. I think that uh, since we are good people, we're trying to do good in this world. We cannot wrap our heads around so much evil that is around us. And when we go out on the street, we're completely ignorant to the type of danger can be around us. We just have no idea because we're
Right.
not in that frequency of thinking evil,
Yeah.
of taking from others. We're here to give. So it's just impossible to think that worst case scenario could happen to you or someone next to you or near you.
I, at this point in your teaching, like I'm sure that you've had instances, right, where people come in and they have that kind of like, I'm gonna walk in here, I'm gonna mess all these dudes up, like jujitsu doesn't work on me, kind of thing. I've always wondered, how does, like, as the school owner, how do you handle those kind of situations? Because I would imagine that you're very in tune with that type of energy. Like, when someone walks in the door, kind of what they're like. Um, if you see that type of training that's like overly rough or something like that with your students, like what's the right time to step in and what level of that is actually good? Because I think in some situations, ego can be a positive. If you're trying to get better with your teammates and you both want to get better, having a little bit of ego can actually make you better competitors. But then there's other situations where that ego can be really toxic to an environment or actually take away from other people's ability to learn. So how do you gauge that when you meet people for the first time at your academy?
Well, first of all, talking about ego is not like your worst enemy. It's also a tool. It's just that you gotta be able to activate it and deactivate it as a light switch. Like when am I gonna turn my ego on? When I cannot go the extra mile and I'm pushing until the last mile, or like when I cannot finish training session, the weight's too heavy and I'm gonna lift it up in the last set. I will. So that's when ego can be turned on. Now, when someone scores a point on you and you get upset and then you lose control, then
Mhm.
that's not the best time to activate your ego, or not the right purpose
Right.
for ego, right? So I think that blinded ego is terrible for the
Mhm.
fighter, but the driven ego is amazing for the fighter. And as well, when someone comes in at the studio, especially a newer person, right? Maybe someone who already had some fighting experience already, or just someone who thinks they're tough, maybe because they have whatever background they had. Uh,
Right.
Maybe they were into a lot of street fights growing up. Maybe they were in the military, and situations that made them tough for many things. But at a jiu-jitsu gym, doesn't matter that you're tough or not. So it's technique.
You'll
It's just
find out.
technique. Yeah. So when I
Yeah.
see that someone is extremely hyped up, every round they go like they're gonna murder someone, they don't show up more than 3, 4 classes, right? They're just not showing up with their
Yeah.
right mindset at jiu-jitsu. They're trying to go fight people, right? When someone comes in because they wanna meet people, because they wanna get in shape, because they wanna learn something new, because they wanna challenge themselves, that's when people stick around, right? So it's not like jiu-jitsu is not for everyone. It's for everyone when the person has the right intention when stepping into a jiu-jitsu gym, right? So I think that's the big, big difference when we try to funnel students in on a class, right? Maybe you
Mhm.
start into a room full of like 10, 20 white belts. Who's gonna make it? First of all, pass the fifth class, pass the first month, right? They're not saying till
Yeah.
blue belt or till black belt. So things get it's not like things are getting tougher for the person, but the person's reasons for being there keep getting tested, right? Like,
Mhm.
am I here for ego? Am I here because I want to post pictures that I'm doing something cool and like I'm a tough person or something like that? You won't be able to keep that motivation for 10 years until you become a black belt.
Yeah.
But when you have
Yeah.
selfless reasons, when you just want to be there because you like being there, because you enjoy your time there, you keep enjoying every single day, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been enjoying it every
Yeah.
single day. That's awesome. So
What What do you think are when you walk through that example of the like 20 white belts that are in a room and it's that desire to keep showing up, willingness to learn. What do you think are the characteristics that are really important for the lifespan of a jujitsu practitioner? Things that you should kind of adopt early on to continue to find reasons to show up and show up and show up and show up.
yeah, I think just not comparing yourself to anyone. Don't comparing yourself to your friend who started training the same time as you. Not comparing to someone who started training after you and got the belt before you. Don't compare your journey with anyone else. Just have fun with the moment, with being there. We have, with taking instruction. And if you're not having fun with all that, maybe you're not in the right place. If you still do like jiu-jitsu, you gotta shop around for a new gym, a new studio, until you find a place that you enjoy going there every day. Of course, life happens. Sometimes people stop training for a couple weeks, got work going on, got life going on, vacation, and then they get back from vacation. It's hard to pick up jiu-jitsu, but people
Right.
eventually try to make it back to training and then keep enjoying that every day camaraderie of jiu-jitsu, with a cool environment. So if you have a cool environment, full of people that are trying to beat you up, but people that try to beat you up and make you better and be your friend
Yeah.
and do it with a smile, then that's probably the perfect setting to make it for 10 years of training.
Has anyone ever surprised you in that regard where when you first started training with them, you're kind of like, this guy, he's not going to make it. His head's not in the right place. And they come around and you start to see a shift in maybe how they view themselves or how they view jujitsu, and it starts to increase the frequency which they attend class, or the other way where you go, wow, this person's head is so in the right place, like they got their head screwed on right, this is awesome, and then they burn out.
So I always think making assumptions is a terrible idea. But there's some people that go to train. I see that they enjoy it a lot. I enjoy them a lot being there as well and sharing time with them. But then all of a sudden they realize that jiu-jitsu is not their number one priority, or not the third, not the fifth, not the sixth. Maybe physical activity is not even in their priority at all. So
Right.
then it just doesn't match their lifestyle, and I just they cannot keep on going with it with this beautiful gift that they're giving. Some other people, on the other hand, you see that it's very challenging for them. They're like really trying hard to learn, but they just can't learn. They just cannot do the moves. Maybe they're not the best in physical activity, and like they're not very coordinated. You can see how challenging little things can be. But damn, sometimes those guys like stick around because once they get it, they it's like they appreciate way more that they got to learn something. They're like, okay, I'm not gonna stop now after I pass the hardest stage, and I can now like
Yeah.
somehow be decent on it, and they'll stick around long enough. It's just like surfing. Like, how many people go to Costco and get a
Get it
foamy?
with a flat soft top. Yeah.
You get a foamy, and you go out there for the first time, and you get trash, but like trash. You can never even make it to the lineup. Most likely, I think it's got to be a big, big percentage of people that don't make it past that first time that they try surfing. They're like, oh, hell no, this is not
Oh
for
yeah.
me. Like, I'm not coming back for this. To go return that board. But
Yep.
people who stick around long enough that they can start, you know, first of all, reading the waves, learning how to watch the patterns of the ocean, and then learning how to paddle at the right time and positioning themselves in the right place, and then catching a wave for the first time, catching a solid wave for the first time, starting to make
Yeah.
turns and dropping down size and volume from your board into like a smaller, and not being able to unlock so many other things in your game that's when you're like, oh shit, this is so cool, I'm not gonna give up on this.
It's so funny. Like, I feel like a nerd when I do this, but I see so many parallels in life from jujitsu, and the parallels between surfing and jujitsu are really similar. Like, the barrier to entry is huge. To get for someone to take the courage to step on the mat for the very first time, that takes a lot for a lot of people. Maybe they don't come from like an athletic background, and doing that first step is really big. Getting out in the water for the first time is a big deal if it's not something that you just grew up doing from when you were a little kid. And then a lot of the progressions and the opportunities to leave are always there, right? You could always have that one day that spooks you out in the water and you're like, I'm never surfing again. People have that in training. They have that one training session where they're like, oh, I hyperextended my elbow, I'm never training again. And you're constantly tested, like you said, of like, here's a reason to leave, here's a reason to leave, here's a reason to stop, here's a reason to quit, here's a reason to quit. But the more you go, like when you find, if you just love being in the water or if you just love being on the mats, both those things are very similar. And when you start to like that part, that's when you actually start to make progress and you start to like, things start to mesh, or yeah, you get the wave for the first time and something clicks in your head just because now you're showing up for the right reasons.
Yeah, it's not for an Instagram post that you're trying to
Right.
do it. You're doing it because you're thriving with that feeling, with whatever you're feeling while you're doing it. Those freaking 30 seconds after being in the water for 30 minutes. Like making those 30 seconds worth it, or being able to appreciate those 30 seconds is is wild, dude. Because most of the time,
Yep.
I was watching this post this week about this guy Cliff Carpano, and he's like 50% were sitting in the ocean, then
Mm-hmm.
another 20% were like moderate paddling, like about 10% were actually like paddling hard, and like a
Yep.
3% of the whole time we're in the water, we're riding a wave. So
It's so
if you're
funny.
able
I
to
was
enjoy that tiny little piece of the whole experience and make that tiny little piece like make it all worth it, you're gonna stick
yep.
with it and you're gonna keep on showing up. You're gonna keep wanting more. Yeah. Now the big
I
difference.
was out in the water this morning, and I was thinking about that because I surfed for like 2 hours, and the swell was like good, but it was a little inconsistent. And I was probably out there a little early with the tide, but I got out and I was in my head. I'm like, that was a really fun session. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, I think I only there were like four good waves, and I was out there for like 2 hours, and each one of those is so fun. But yeah, most of the time you're like trying to read the horizon. You're stuck in a rip current, so you're trying to get back. You're paddling up. You're like, oh, it's good over there. I'm gonna go over there. And you look back, and it's like firing where you just were. And then at the end of the day, you get like four waves in a 2 hour session, and something about that is so powerful that you're like, I can't wait to surf
No, I
again.
mean, it's just the quality of it. When I go to Trestle, sometimes I'm like, I'm waiting for 2 hours to get three waves, and I'm like, dude, like it was awesome, but I almost drop in on like seven people. You like, and then freaking other three people dropping on me when I was starting to catch up waves. I had to like
Yep.
scream people out of the way, but then whatever is left is worth it. Like it's just, man,
Yep.
yeah, you gotta be respectful also in the water. You cannot just drop in on anyone and expect to be cool because you got cauliflower ears or because you know how to fight. It just doesn't work like that. Yeah, it's just,
Yeah, it's like
dude,
jujitsu. I
it's a
mean,
trippy.
most of the
It's
time
kind of old school
when I
jiu-jitsu team. It's
train,
like an old school jiu-jitsu gym. It's like where you cannot even talk to the black belts, where
yeah,
where white belts cannot ask a higher belt to train. Like it's pretty gnarly. When you go to places and like you see your everyday locals, then you're like,
mhm,
"Man, I'm a big friends with those guys, like with those 50-year-old guys that are like sitting
right,
on the main break, and I'm gonna go chat with them
yeah,
and like make my way into the little crowd, and then all of a sudden, hey Francisco, like that's your wave. I'm like, oh, awesome! Like finally,
thank
no
you,
one's
thank you.
gonna paddle on me. Like I'm a good freaking
So true,
priority on this. So
so
yeah,
true.
you gotta be smart too. Same thing when you're a new guy at jiu-jitsu, you show up, man, you want to be friends with the tough guy in training. Not because you don't want the tough guy to not beat you up. You want the tough guy to teach you stuff. You want to learn from the tough
Yeah,
guy. When I go to jiu-jitsu gyms, when I go to train anywhere in the world, when I go to my friends' gyms and train, I want the toughest training. Like I go to Clark's, I go train with Clark about once a week, two times a week when I'm lucky, and
yeah,
like I don't only want to roll with him the first round, I want to roll with him the last round too, and like I want to do multiple rounds with him. Like I'm not down for the easy round. I don't go to train to make
yeah,
me feel good about myself. I go to train to like get the toughest training that I can to make me better, right? So you
yeah.
always want to partner up with the toughest guy. Even if the toughest guy in the room beats the crap out of you, go for it. That's awesome because then no one else outside is gonna beat the crap out of you like that, you know?
Yeah, I think there's like a mental challenge in there. I find myself doing this from time to time. Like if I train, I always train like 4 days a week, but I'll keep going and going and going, and then I'll find this spot where like I almost start avoid. I find myself wanting to avoid that, and that's when I know I have to double down on it. Like if I start to feel like I'm choosing roles that are, I don't want to call them easier, but less challenging. I'm like, no, you need to choose the ones that are tough because it's better to get mopped, like get the floor mopped with you than to take the easier role because that one's not going to teach you the way that the other one will.
Yeah,
And that's a mental barrier to get over with, to seek difficulty. That's a hard thing to do as a person, to seek it out, right? If you're in class and professor pairs you up with a tough role, it's a roll of the dice. But to actively pursue it is a different mindset that's hard to constantly operate at.
yeah. I think the key to be good in many sports, if not say all sports, is to thrive on difficult times, to thrive on
Mhm.
an awkward situation, a tough situation. Like you want to become addicted to being in a bad spot, pretty much. Like you want to be addicted to suffering because
Yeah.
only suffering is gonna get the best out of you. You know, you only know yourself when you're pushed to the boiling point. Like if I go with the toughest round in the last round after doing 7 rounds of seven, like that's when I know how I'm gonna react with a tough person. I'm tired. Like let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you wanna be seeking, the most uncomfort, most uncomfortable situation that you can be in. You know, whether it's training jiu-jitsu, whether it's lifting weights. Like there's people who only surf is like 4 feet and glassy and like offshore and freaking sunny and 70-degree weather.
Yeah.
But like,
In board shorts.
yeah, what about the
Yeah.
day that is freaking cold as hell, kind of windy, freaking
Crazy
set
current.
the
Yeah.
sets are just like short period, like just wave after wave after wave, and like you have to paddle a ton and like dog dive probably more than you're paddling. Like sometimes like you do need that. And some, you know, sometimes those are the days that you score and like you're all by yourself out there. So same thing with training. Like you gotta be seeking the uncomfortable, not the easy. Like I go lift weights and like I do the same program or the same type of training since I'm like 15 years old. About
Yeah.
16 actually. I work with this trainer since then. KP, shout out to Kevin Peretti, one of the best physical trainers for jiu-jitsu athletes. He trained Bernardo Faria, trained Lucas Lepri, Dylan
Wow.
Dennis, trained Mansher, trained Johnny. No, I'm not sure if Johnny did train
Oh,
with
I'd love
him.
to have him on. It'd be great to talk to
Trained
someone like that.
me, trained Vera, Toscano. Man, he trained so many people. He actually fixed me once. We were sharing the mat while we were training. I was a purple belt training with Lucas Lepri, and I dislocated my shoulder. He put my shoulder
Put it back in.
he put my shoulder back
Yeah.
in 2 weeks before Worlds. I ended up competing Worlds. He gave me therapy every single day up to Worlds, and I
Wow.
got third, purple belt world. I think after fighting like 6 matches with a dislocated shoulder 2 weeks before. So, I mean, the guy is a great physical therapist and trainer as well. Well, Manhattan, New York, that's where he's at. And yeah, he's been giving me my program ever since he relocated my shoulder, and he's been
Nice.
taking care of my conditioning. And yeah, even though I do the same workout like at the same time of the year, like I know what's coming, I know how suffering is gonna be. I still show up, I still get it done. Some days it's harder than others, you know, even though I'm lifting the same
Yeah.
weight, some days I'm not feeling the best, and you know, those 25
I'm
pounds
the same.
feel a
Yeah. I
lot
mean,
heavier
I've
than usual, and that's how it is. But you just gotta thrive on it. And once you're done, dude, if you can finish your day and you've done something you didn't want to do, you did something uncomfortable, you did something hard, you feel good at night, dude. I do. I
hell
feel
yeah.
amazing when
Yes.
I went to train hard. Then I did my weights. I freaking even went surfing. Took my kid to the playground. Have fun with him. Cook meal for the family. Then I go at night. I'm like, dude, I didn't stop all day, but for what a great purpose. Like it was an
For sure.
amazing day.
When I got a question about the this pursuit of difficulty because I've always found it interesting with high level practitioners, whether it's in mixed martial arts or in your case in jujitsu. The better you get, the more that you're the best person in the room. And that's not always the case. It's not to say that every time you walk into a studio that you're going to be the most talented person there. But in some cases, you are. And so how do you find that difficulty? The way that you use, when you're a purple belt, you can probably find a really difficult match or a challenging match easily because you're not as skilled as you are now. Now that you've been doing this for so long and you are at the pinnacle and you own a studio and you teach other people how to improve their game, how do you still find that challenge and how do you still find people that bring that out of you, like that truly test you and keep sharpening that iron like that?
A lot of people, and for a second, also in my career, I thought I could do things by myself. You can never do things alone. You need to ally yourself with people that can push you. If no one else is pushing you or no one else is beating you up, you gotta go find it somewhere else. be friends with
Mm.
some other guy that trains at a different gym that is tough training, and go get some rolls in. Like you need to. You cannot be the
Mm.
you cannot be the toughest guy in the room. And if you are, get a handful of people that are at least 60% as tough as you, get as many rounds in with the less breaks you can, and
Yeah.
those guys are going to be tougher when you're tired. So it's about not cheating in your training. You know, when you train, like, dude, you train with me, and like, I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was trying to like push extra hard on you. I was trying to beat you up. But we moved. We moved. You did a
Yeah.
7 minute
No, it was
round. I think we
great.
did a 7 minute round, and
They were all sevens. For the record, they were all sevens.
dude, like, we didn't stop moving the whole 7 minutes. That's how training should
Yeah.
be. And that doesn't mean that I'm gonna tap
Yeah.
you out 7 times in 7 minutes. But I might try to pass your guard like at least five, 6 times, and like sweep you at least five, six
Yeah.
times as well. Like, I'm not trying to move a lot. I don't need to squeeze your neck that many times. No, because that's not the point of it. Like, what if that day I'm trying to train my passing? Like, I want to get to pass a lot. So like, I put you in the position that you're best at, and from there figure it out and get out of it, and then make my move, and then, okay, let's reset, catch and release, and we go again. That's the only way to keep on moving, because if I
Yeah.
take your back in the first 30 seconds and then we don't move for the next 6 minutes, it's almost
Yeah.
like that round didn't happen. You know, I just squeeze
And you see
squeeze
that a lot.
something.
You do see that.
Yeah,
You know,
and
like
you
you'll
see,
see in training. Well, two things. One, you'll see in this happens where there will be a drill to be done, and people do the drill for like 10 reps, and then they start talking about their weekend, or they start talking about family or surfing or something, and now they're not doing the drill. Or people will take the position that they know that they're good at and hold it, and then like you would put me in a position, right? Like we were talking about this like this turtle arm trap, right? I'd roll out into turtle and you trap my arm. You could have just kept my arm trapped the whole 7 minutes, but you didn't. You would release it and move to something else, and it kept me working the whole time, and you got really good movement in. So it felt like a more productive way of going through that. Like there was no rest, but you were also letting me try to work and try to improve on what I was getting wrong, while also not letting me rest in the process. So it felt really productive.
yeah, we both took advantage of those 7 minutes, let's say. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I mean,
Why do you like 7 versus 5?
oh yeah, we changed it up, dude. Like, at the gym, no
Yeah.
one, like, not even me. Like, I'm not expecting that day to be one way or another, because some day
Yeah.
people show up, some other day more people show up, some other people, sometimes we're odds, sometimes we're even numbers. So like, we gotta switch it up a little bit more. So you just gotta be creative at the moment, and then just keep people guessing, right? We show up on Friday noon. They don't know if they're gonna be doing positional sparring. They don't know if they're gonna be doing 7 minute rounds, if they're gonna be doing rounds of 3 minutes, or today we did groups of three people, two rounds of five, and then a 5 minute break. And then we just
Yeah.
kept on rotating, and then at the end we did a few 7 minute rounds. So like, yeah, they don't know. They don't know if the door's gonna be closed or the door's gonna be open. Are you gonna be able to?
I
Are you
love
gonna
that.
be
It's
able to breathe that day? Are you gonna
uncertainty.
be able to breathe that day? And
Yeah.
that's not all the classes, right? That's the noon class. That is mostly, people who are higher belts. Like, we rarely got a white belt in that class. That class,
Yeah.
not for beginners at all. It's for people who know what they're doing. Of course, people from all ages show up, right?
Yeah.
Different backgrounds as well. Some people who are in a little better shape than others, and of course, people will do as much as they can. Sometimes I tell people to take more breaks if I see like their body needs it. I always keep asking people, hey, you need a break? Are you feeling good? Like, I read people's faces, right? They're suffering a lot. I like that you're suffering, but why don't we give you a break for 5 minutes or 3 minutes? And then you can suffer again with a smile on your face. So I try to make sure that I'm reading the crowd as well, not pushing them more than they should, because that's when injuries happen as well. So it's a bit of my job as a trainer, as a fitness coach, to
Right.
preserve my client's integrity, my client's health, but also want
Right.
people who are next to me to challenge themselves, to thrive, to like kind of like rub them a little bit of my energy onto them, of like, not settling for the easier round and pushing past their limits. The same time that I take care of them and make sure that they're healthy and they can come back the next day as well. So it takes time also
When
to be
I
able to
so
read that.
I got a question about like training, maybe mindset, but more like theory. Because if I think back to all the people I've talked to that grew up training in South America or grew up training in Brazil, there seemed to be like this general toughness that's present in the studio all the time. Where like they're like, oh, it was hard rolls, always. It was always hard rolls. What are your thoughts on like toughness, creating tough practitioners, and then regulating that intensity, kind of like you're talking about, as like, you know, you have the responsibility to these students. You want to make sure that people are training at their best. When is one good and one's better? Like to me, it seems like in some situations it would be good to have that grit and that like, no, we're just it's hard training all the time, kind of weed out the people that don't want to train that way, and the rest of us will develop, you know, like mental toughness and physical toughness and put skill on top of that. And then you have basically everyone that came out of Brazil and South America, or this newer approach where it's like a regulation of intensity. Like, what do you think is the best way to go about training? And are we losing out on something today because we're training differently than they were back in Brazil?
Well, to be honest, like I don't think we train that much different than when I was in Ecuador here. The only thing is that we don't put nicknames of people. Everyone's called by their name, and we clean our gis after every practice. We only train with a clean gi. That's everything that changed. When you went out there to train, I'm pretty sure you bump into like another five Ecuadorian kids. Like we have people from Ecuador that came here, and then we keep the same lifestyle on the mats. Like we're all having fun on the mat, playing cool music, just camaraderie, being friends. But we push it hard. Like we can turn that on and off. Like when it's time to train, we give ourselves like I'm gonna bring health to my friends. And then right
Yeah.
after, we're gonna be both laying on the ground, freaking shaking our hands, happy, and like finish training and just chill together. Or maybe like if it's Friday noon, afternoon class, sometimes we go to the corner store, get a beer, like drink a beer,
Right.
sip it together, have fun, talk a little bit about our week, just hang out. Like we don't trip about training, like I have my homies training with me. Johnny Tama comes over a lot. All the Ecuadorian kids that are tough as hell. My students as well. Got Clark, Brandon, Walensky. All these guys come over to give some good rolls and have fun with us. And after training, like we're laughing, we're cracking jokes, we're talking about different stuff. Maybe we get the opportunity to hang out over the weekend. We're not sore about tapping out to my friend or
Yeah.
none of that. That's what we're there for. Like the best training session for me is the one that you tap me out, the one I tap you out. Like, we both got something,
Yeah.
and like we both went after it, and that's it. We're exhausted. We got a good training in, got an amazing session. We're healthy. We can walk out of there laughing and having fun. We're good. So I think that's what I I brought with me from Ecuador. Not only a place where people go train, a place where people go enjoy. And of course, not everyone can stay after class and, crack jokes for half an hour and stretch and then get a beer at the store. You gotta maybe go pick up your kids, go pick up,
Right.
whatever, go to run errands, go back to work. People have a busy lifestyle as well, but we're enjoying. We're not only there to like beat each other up and like eyeball each other and like treating every round like as if it was a competition round, like as on the way that I don't want to lose against my partner, but I'm there to try my best to get a good training session, not for myself, but for my training partner as well. That's why
Yeah.
I like the toughest rounds, man. Not because like I think I can beat them, but because that's the only way that I can do the best for myself to make my day worth it and make my partner's day worth it as well.
How do you keep yourself healthy?
That's healthy, dude.
Like how do you keep your body in a state where you can train at this frequency and intensity for this many years? Because so many people quit because they get hurt once or
Oh yeah.
because they get hurt twice, like how do you take care of yourself?
Well, number one, when you're training a lot, often, it can happen, right? You can get hurt
Mhm.
walking your dog. You can get hurt freaking surfing. I got hurt bad because I longboard without a leash, let go of the board on the whitewater while I was dog diving, let go of his longboard, hit me on the head. I had to get like 17 stitches.
Yeah.
Gnarly,
Yeah.
gnarly, 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 gnarly injury. 3 layers of stitches. Dude, it was gnarly. Really bad. Blood everywhere. Like I was afraid I was gonna have like a concussion. I was in the water when this happened. I had to like paddle back to shore. Thankfully, the person that was responsible for this drove behind me to the hospital. He brought me some water, some snacks, some protein bars, so I could have my sugar up. Like he wasn't an asshole. He was like doing his best. You can tell he was
Yeah. Yeah.
super scared. I told dude
Yeah.
like just if you're not Joe Tudor, wear a leash, straight up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Louder.
uh, dude, injuries can happen anytime. So you gotta
Yeah.
be in peace and accept that your lifestyle is not just like any other person's lifestyle. You can have
Yeah.
an injury any moment. You gotta accept it, heal it, keep going with your life. It's part of the road. Acceptance, being able to accept it. If you're not able to accept it and you keep blaming others because of an injury, keep building anger, playing in your head 1,000 scenarios where you couldn't have got hurt, you're not at peace. This is gonna mess up with your head big time, and that's when you're gonna be afraid of coming back and doing it. You gotta accept it's an accident. Life happens. Life is full of beautiful stuff, beautiful times, some other challenging times, but we gotta accept it. When you can accept that, injuries will go by. It's just a chapter that you flipping through pages, and you're gonna get to the next page, start all over again reading, right? You don't hold into that injury, into the reasons of that injury. Of course, bigger injuries is harder to let go, right? Emotionally. But only when you let go and you fully accept it and you focus on recovering and what you can do with whatever you got is when you can actually heal and go up to the next stage and keep on going, keep on moving forward. Don't blame yourself, not blaming others. Don't putting on that energy. That's not really good in an injury. It just keeps that inflammation around. It just doesn't let it heal. You're just channeling that sickness, that disability, that whatever it is, manifesting it on a daily basis, on an hourly basis. That's just gonna stay there because you're bringing it back. The moment you let go of it, you move forward. You do what you can at the moment. Every step that you take is going to help you to heal and recover, and you're going to be able to do the best in no time again. So yeah, you just got to accept that. And now from preventive, right? Noon class in our school is the only class that we don't have a stretching session after. I stick around and stretch a bit, but we do teach our students how to stretch. Like just take 10 minutes of your day to stretch at least a bit,
Yep. I do
making
that
sure
every
that
night.
you're like a little more calibrated, that you're not all messed up. Get some stretching in, drink tons of water, at least a gallon of water a day. If you can drink some more
So
electrolytes,
important.
coconut water,
Yep.
element tea, liquid IV, salt in your water, whatever you can do to make your water absorption better. Amazing, do it as well. Resting, being able to rest. It's hard when you got a newborn, when you got a little kid at home.
I was
And
going to ask you
sometimes
about that next, man. How do you do it?
mm, we're blessed that my wife can take care of my kid full time. And when he was at the
Yeah.
stage that he'll wake up a lot, mom will take care of him, and then I had to rest because I had to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
But now we can sleep the whole night. He doesn't wake up. Sometimes he wakes up like right before I'm about to go to sleep. I get in the room with him for a couple of minutes. He crashes again. All good to go. But being able to sleep well, I like
Yep.
taking a nap, man. I like taking a nap, 20, 30-minute nap, sometimes an hour nap if I have the time. Napping as well, so you're refreshed to go into the next session, into your next commitments of the day, right? We're taking a lot mentally, physical wise. When you're a studio teaching all morning, lifting weights, taking care of your child, get a good
Yeah.
reset. Get a good reset. Quick nap, gonna come back, shower, gonna feel refreshed again, ready for the next part of your day. So I'm a big fan of napping. It helps me
Yeah.
recover and like split the day and
Yeah, if
keep
you keep
pushing
it short,
forward.
that's super powerful. Like those little quick 20-minute, that's like a major recharge.
And hey, if I got the time, I'll take it longer. I don't discriminate. I don't discriminate. Longer
Well,
naps.
you're a parent now, so you
I
got to
get
get what you
whatever I
can.
can. Yeah, whatever
Yeah.
I can. If I can get a 20 minutes, that's all I got. That's all I got. Uh, Someone cancels a class on me. Okay, I'm gonna sleep for 15 minutes. It's all good. Like, yeah, so let's
Where
get
does your
something.
strength training fit into that? You still strength train now, even though you're not like currently competing, right? Or are you going to compete this year?
Well, yeah,
Masters.
I competed. I haven't competed in like 4 years. I did a super fight last year. I think, yeah, last year. Uh, I did LA Open about a month and a half ago. I won. I'm doing San Diego Open next weekend.
Nice.
Uh, I was thinking about doing nationals and Masters Worlds. That was the goal this year. I set up a goal in December. I was like, I want to do Master Worlds. I don't want to do it. I want to win Master Worlds. I won World Championships, couple in blue belt, a few in purple belt as well, and I just never get a World Championship as a black belt. I got third at Worlds, Nogi Worlds once as a black belt, but I didn't win Worlds as a black belt. So going back and doing it for Masters, it'll be a fun task. I'm in great shape. The division is not any easier. Of course, it's not 10 minutes.
Right.
It's going to be 6 minutes. It's a lot more fun, but doesn't mean easier. He's going to be able to push it all for 6 minutes and not get tired. And then you still got to do like 6, 7 matches. But I thought it was a good challenge. I was reading David Goggins a lot in the
That'll do
transition to
it.
the new year.
Yep.
I was reading David Goggins in the transition of the new year, and I was like, man, my life's too easy. It's like I'm too comfortable right now. Even though I
Yeah.
try to suffer a little bit here and then, but I wanted to suffer a little more. And also last year, Roberto Jimenez, he's a little kid, his family as well. Since I was a little kid, and he came over, stayed with me for like a month before Worlds last year, and he was like, "Hey, I want to do Worlds. It's just that like I want to train here with you for some time, and let's do it." So I was like, "Oh, damn, let's go." So like I had to show up to every single training session. I wasn't even gonna compete, but I, I was like, I'm gonna train as if I was gonna compete Worlds for this guy. So I had another student, Blue Belt, who got third at Worlds last year as well. We trained hard, us three, every single day, and that kind of like flicked the fire again in me. And I was like, wow, I can still keep up with this much training. I can still do fairly good with high level people. So why not competing? I want my kid to. It's not saying that my kid's not proud of me, but like
Yeah.
I want my
Look up
kid
to you.
to I want my kid to see me winning some stuff, to see me like pushing myself out of my comfort zone. It's not like, oh, I run a gym, I go surf, I chill,
Yeah.
ride the bicycle to the playground. Blah blah blah, we're good. Oh, amazing, like I want my kid to grow up and like, damn, my dad put himself into like really uncomfortable positions that he didn't need to, but he got there and he found a way and he made it happen and he ended up being successful out of it. So I want to translate that mentality to my kid as well.
Was that something that you looked up to in your father?
Dude, yeah, I think being a father changed a lot of things on me. I had no other reason to fight anymore. Like, yeah, just like do stuff for myself, I guess. But when you have a kid, when you have someone that you're trying to teach him lessons, or not only teach him a lesson, but somehow teach a culture in your house, like lead a
Mhm.
type of culture. I work out every day. I put myself to awkward situations all the time. My wife, because of that, she's thriving and going to hot yoga, the hottest yoga classes that she can go. And she also puts herself to tough situations. She comes back home. She's like, she looks like a shrimp. She's like cooked from yoga. And like
Yeah.
now she's doing like these barre classes that are like kicking her butt and like, wow, that's awesome. Like that's
Yeah.
the culture we want to have at home. Then my kid's gonna grow up. He's not gonna be sitting playing video games. He's not gonna be on an iPad. Like mommy and daddy and going after it, like getting it. He's gonna be able to get it too. Like that's what he's gonna grow up doing.
Yeah.
I I owe that to my parents because my mom was a body fitness competitor, bikini competitor. My dad was a bodybuilder as well. So like I could see my parents put themselves through horrible diets, like eating freaking
Oh,
oatmeal,
that's the toughest stuff is the
boiled
competition.
potatoes,
Yeah.
boiled chicken, freaking tuna, no
Yeah.
salt. Then a week before their show, they had to be like drink no water. Dude,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to do that. Like
Torture.
that
Torture.
sucks. That
Yeah.
sucks. But guess what? Like they were thriving on those situations. They loved
It's
it. They like
adversity,
it.
right? It's
So
finding uncomfortable situations to challenge
exactly.
yourself in because it makes you a better person.
Yes, it's somehow a feeling of accomplishment, right? I think
Yeah.
that it, while the humans were evolving, we were constantly under tough situations. Like all of a sudden it rains, we don't have a roof. Like find shelter. Like
Yeah.
it's getting colder. Let's find some more food. Let's find something we can cover ourselves with. Like we had so many challenges, and now growing up, we don't have many challenges. And then what we do when we don't have many challenges? What we do when we have any challenge? We don't have any challenges, Abe.
When we don't have any, oh,
Yeah,
you
what
just
do you
become
do?
stagnant. You become
You create
boring. Yeah.
challenges. You create challenges in your head.
Oh, what do we do?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
create
no,
challenges in
I
our
go
head.
seek it
And if
out
we don't,
everywhere.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
why I train
exactly.
jujitsu every day of the week.
And if you don't do that, then you're gonna be
I lose
challenging
my mind.
yourself. Like then you challenge yourself solving a little shit. Like if you
Yeah.
have a small problem around something so insignificant, you're gonna turn that into like the biggest problem in the world because somehow our bodies seek that being uncomfortable, being
Difficulty.
like difficulty. And if you don't do difficult stuff for sure that are difficult, you're gonna make stuff that are not difficult a lot more difficult. You're
Oh,
gonna
dude,
complicate your
if I
life
don't
for
like
little stuff.
if I don't get to train, like if I don't get to strength train, like do my strength training regimen, and if I don't get to go train jujitsu, like if we're traveling and for whatever reason I can't do either of those, because I always try to train when I'm abroad or if we're traveling or whatever, I start to lose my mind. It is not good for me. Like I am very much my well-being is dependent on whether or not I can have physical exertion and challenges in my life. 100%.
Yeah,
And
man.
it's hard without that.
Yeah, and you gotta get up, and also you need people around you to understand that as well. Like my wife
Yeah.
understands it. I'm like, hey, baby, like sometimes we're on vacation, like just a few months ago, more a little bit over a month, we were in Europe, and we're at a hotel in Barcelona, and then my wife's like getting ready to sleep. She's like ordering food service, and then I'm getting ready. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm going to the gym, run 5 miles." And she's like, "It's like 10 p.m. Like, what's going on, dude?" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Baby, if I don't get these 5 miles in, I'm not gonna be able to sleep. I'm not gonna be in peace with myself." She's like, "Okay, go, you're crazy. Go do it." She says always, like, "I just love you." Like, and she, so it's like,
She gets you. She gets you. She gets it.
I just gotta love him. That's it.
Yep.
Like, don't understand him. Don't try to make him change his mind. Just love him. That's what she says. So
You've been
yeah,
have
dude.
you trained at Longman Jiu-Jitsu on Kauai?
I haven't, dude. Man, I know Hunter since he was a blue belt back in
Damn.
Miami. Yeah, I lived in
Yeah.
Miami also for some time. My mom lives
I think
there.
that's how I originally
But
like got connected with you because when I was in Kauai, I trained at Longman, and then because of that, I didn't meet face to face, but I was put in touch with Hunter and then had hit on. But the same thing happened. Like we were in Kauai for a week for a wedding, and I was like, I love you, baby. I gotta go train now. And so like I like looked it up, and I was like, oh, cool. There's one in Honolulu, and I went. and I just got my ass kicked for like an hour, and I left there and I felt so much better. And I came back and I was like, back on earth. It just felt so good.
No,
It's important to be able to
You're
do
in
it.
paradise
Yeah.
out there in Hawaii, and then you go
Yeah.
self-inflict hell on you,
Yeah.
and then you go back and freaking
Yeah.
drink your daiquiri. Yeah, man,
That's
it's so
living.
it's too beautiful, it's too nice, but I'm not sweating, I'm not running. I'm like, I need to
Yeah.
expend some energy. Yeah, it's different when I travel. Usually, I try to book a couple seminars. Number
Hmm.
one, because I do crave that mat time and like
Yeah.
some interaction and meeting people that otherwise I wouldn't be able to meet. Like you can only meet someone for so much or get intimate with someone where you're like at a cafe and you meet someone or whatever. Or you go train with someone, like you're both laying down on the ground and then while you catch your breath, you're like chatting about stuff and then get intimate and like, hey, recommend me some stuff. Like, oh yeah, you
Yeah.
should go check out this, check out that. It's like I always like traveling or training while I'm traveling. I always think that I pick up the best restaurants, I pick up the best
Yeah.
places to go, some of the local knowledge from going to
Yeah.
a jiu-jitsu studio and making friends with a true local, someone who 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 can guide me a little better where I'm traveling and I'm a complete tourist. And also, I think that once you're a black belt and you've done many tournaments or you're known for something, then you got people who want to learn from you and try to
Yeah.
book a couple seminars helps me pay for the trip a little bit as well. But
Yep.
just being
It's
able to
tax
see
write off.
people and dude and also dude like I bump into someone who I trained with 5 years ago. Let's say last time I
Yeah.
went to Europe to Spain was about 6 7 years ago. And my friend who became my black belt, Ivan, out there in Almeria, south of Spain, he had his wife was pregnant, and now I came back. His kid's like 6.5 years old, and being able to go back to that place and wow, seeing like how much their life has changed. He's now
Yeah.
in a beautiful gym. His business is growing, and life has changed for him. It's cool to not being able to see someone, not being able to catch up really with someone for so long, and then you see them again, and wow, like life has changed a lot, but I'm glad that we can still see each other now and have fun and enjoy and just see how much you've grown over
Yeah.
this time, and
Well, and you mentioned like this filter earlier, how like to get to jujitsu, you've kind of gone through these filters to get there. And when you're traveling somewhere else outside of where you live and you go, you meet other people that have gone through that same filter. And so there's this kind of like, whether it's getting a restaurant recommendation like you're talking about or finding out about some super cool coffee shop that like nobody else goes to, uh, you just get, you build this camaraderie and then you get to meet cool people in different places that like you might stay in touch with for a super long time. It's very there's so many places that I've been fortunate enough to go and train at. I always leave there feeling like I there's another friend, right? Like I could call that person later that week and be like, I really need your help. And they would actually show up, even though I just met them. Because you just build this camaraderie. It's super cool.
yeah, and as well, living in San Diego, right? A lot of people come back and visit. So
Yeah.
usually, a lot of people that I visited in a lot of remote places of the world, they made their way to San Diego and they reach out to me. It's like, hey, I'm in San Diego. Like, I want to go train with
Yeah.
you. I'm like, hey, let's go. Like, we go train. Right after we go get lunch. Same thing when I'm traveling out, and now they're looking forward to take me out somewhere to lunch after training. No, usually jiu-jitsu people they know something of craft beer, so they bring you to a good
Right.
brewery to get a nice brew. So like, yeah, it's like most likely you're gonna have people with a similar culture than yours. So that makes it super cool when you're traveling and you're meeting people when you're traveling who do similar things that you do or who enjoy things that you do, right? Jiu-jitsu
Right.
guys, they know like the good restaurants, they know the good acai spot, they know the good brewery.
Waves.
If you're somewhere where you're surfing, you can ask for some break recommendations where to
Yep.
surf. Yeah, dude, when I went to Oahu, I was like, after my jiu-jitsu class, I was like, okay, dude, like, what's the place to surf? Like, I don't want to freaking be sitting at a break with like 100 people and waiting for a
Yeah.
wave. Like what's the spot where I should go surf? They told me about Sandy Beach in Oahu. That's a east side of the island. Super chill. Like literally, like I was surfing and it was like two other people in the water, and of course respectful. I don't want to be a gnarly howly. So
Yeah.
go talk to them. Tell them, hey, I'm not from here. I'm from San Diego. Tell me about this place. Like, what's up with this break? Like, should I catch the left, the right? Like, is there rocks
Yeah.
down there? Is it gnarly here? Like, what's the tide like? Like, when should I surf it? And you get some of that insight, right? People tell you, oh no, you should go to that spot, the low tide, mid tide, whatever it is. Go early in the morning or whatever it is that they give you insight on. You can get to experience a place a lot better if you have some of that local knowledge. And thankfully, with Jiu-Jitsu, we have that. I'm pretty sure people who go to a CrossFit gym may experience
I was gonna say similar
uh,
culture. Yep.
similar culture just because you're doing something that you already do every day with a group of people with a culture that you're used to. Therefore, there
Well,
has to
and
be
you're
similar
like,
things to enjoy.
your exertion there. I think that there's something special about exertion. Like when you go to a CrossFit gym, or if you drop into a studio and you train, it's the physical output. Like you look right and Francisco's training super hard. You look left and this guy's training super hard. And you're like, all right, I'm going to train super hard. And when you all do that together in the same place, like there's something about that I think is unique. It's not like showing, like you go to a coffee shop, you meet someone, it's cool, but it's not like you haven't put in that work, like that sweat equity where
It
you're like,
doesn't
fuck,
elevate.
like that was hard.
It doesn't elevate your energy. Absolutely.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
what it is.
yeah. We have a saying in between like our group of friends when I was growing up. It's like if you're with us and you're the least talented and you're like not the best person at jiu-jitsu, eventually you'll become a lot tougher than any other people outside this room
Yep.
because you're just constantly with us with that energy that is just freaking high intensity. Like you're gonna be so comfortable on that energy that you're already gonna
Yeah.
be over anybody else who's at a different gym who doesn't have that vibe, right?
Yeah.
So there's a saying in in Portuguese or in Jiu-Jitsu, right? In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they say it's better to be the tail of the lion than the head of the mice. So being the smallest and like the least uh, attributed fighter, the least skillful of everyone in the room is better than being the top dog in
Right, in
the
a small pond.
in the small pond. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
It's totally
yeah,
true. I mean, you're not getting, I guess it depends what your ultimate goals are, but like if your goals are to be challenged and to develop and to learn skill and to improve, it would be better to be getting smashed every day by people that are much better than you than to just be dominating people that are way less skilled than you, because
absolutely,
you are getting better. Even, and I think that's something that people struggle with in jiu-jitsu is they feel like they're not improving when in reality they're improving a lot, because you improve in little adjustments, like where your hips are, where your elbows are, your head position, your body position, if you're allowing people to gain space on
hmm
you, if you're eliminating space. And those are happening whether you know it or not when you're training with someone that's more skilled than you. And those people who get smashed, and they just keep going, they keep going, and they keep going. And then all of a sudden, they're a different person and they're more skilled and they're like calm and they have this collectedness about them. And I've seen it so many different times. It's so cool. It's like one of the most rad parts about jujitsu is it actually changes the way that somebody is in the world.
absolutely. I think the way you see problems, the way you see adversity, the way you see challenges, it just changes. I think you just get a whole different confidence that you can take any challenge that it is, no matter the size, no matter the color, the shape of the challenge, you're still gonna be
Yeah.
able to put up a fight. I have students, man, they get tough. They got so tough. since they started training with me, right? I welcome a few students as blue belt, purple belts. Now they're brown, purple belts. They're they got so much better, and they still tell me like, "Hey, I cannot even score a point on you. Like, I can do shit on you, professor. I can do
Yeah,
nothing on you still." And I'm like, "Dude, you're getting better. You have no idea how much better you've got." But
yeah,
guess what? As you're getting better, I'm getting better too.
yep,
Like, I haven't chilled. I'm still getting better. So that's what people don't realize when they're getting better. They compare, as I said at the beginning, right? You compare your journey with someone else, or you compare yourself with your other training partner. And you're like, shit, like, I'm not getting better because this guy's still beating me up. But that
right,
guy is also getting better. We're all getting better collectively. Like, rising high,
yep,
rising tide lifts all boats.
yep,
We all getting better here. It's just that you don't realize because you're still getting beat up by your partners. Doesn't mean that you're not getting better until someone else shows up from a different gym who's also a blue belt. And then you're like, oh, damn, like I can do all this stuff on this
yeah,
guy. Like, oh, wow. So I
yeah.
guess I am getting better,
I
right?
think
So,
that reason, that is one reason why I think it's important. And I don't know if this is like taboo culturally in jiu-jitsu, but I really like training at different places from time to time because it's uncomfortable because you don't know anything about the people that you're training with. So you're out of knowing your opponents, knowing your teammates, knowing their skills, their weaknesses, their strengths, where you have advantages, disadvantages, and it puts you in this environment where you really have to like use what you know. So
mhm.
you take all the skill that you've learned throughout your time training, and not to say, and not like go in and be an asshole and try to like just fight everyone, but you go in and you kind of actually see like where are the skills that I've been learning, where can I actually apply them, or it shows areas of opportunity to get better. Even when I got to come and train with you guys, it was so awesome because we had all these different intensities, and there I left going like, there are some things that I want to work on that I wouldn't have noticed if I was back at my academy, because I wasn't pushed there by the people that I train with all the time. It's no fault to them and or me. It's just it's nice to get out and to see, like, to be out of that, to be new in a place again.
Yes, absolutely. That's why I go train with Clark, go train with Johnny. A couple of weeks ago, Johnny's been training at AOJ, so he took me down to AOJ. Man, that was a cool experience. I've
That
trained
place
at
is so rad, dude.
I've trained at high level places before. I trained 3 years at Cobrinha. Like,
Yep.
dude, to train at Cobrinhas at that time, I had to do a camp for myself before showing up to Cobrinha again to train. Like, if I was out of
Really?
town training around, teaching seminars, I knew, like, okay, May 31st, I'm gonna be back at Cobrinhas in LA training. Those
Got to get
two, three
ready.
weeks before, 2, 3 weeks before, I'm already doing like 6 rounds of 10 minutes. I'm
Wow.
like pushing it hard on them, like getting ready. So when I go back to Cobrinhas, I'm like in shape to be able to do the
Yeah.
whole class. Like,
Damn.
and then you look around and you see freaking Isaac Dotterlines right there. He's your first match. Then Cobrinha is your
Yep.
second round. Then Johnny Tama is my third. And then your fourth is your heavyweight purple belt guy who just got third at Pan Ams and he's freaking tough as hell. So
Yeah.
like already being at top gyms like that, I went to AOJ 3 days after I got back from Europe. I was like haven't trained in 2 weeks,
Yep.
drinking beer every single day, and like jet lag when I got back. But I was like, Johnny's like, hey, pick you up, let's go to AOJ. I'm like, it's gonna suck. Let's do it. I love it.
Yeah.
Let's get it. And then I went out there and freaking it was hell. Just training, non stopping, rounds of 3 minutes, which is high intensity. You may think I was like, I'd rather do 5 minute rounds than 3 minutes. 3 minutes too short. Yeah,
Yep.
3 minutes when you're going 1,000%, and then you go to the next
Brutal.
3 minute round 1,000%, like you're gonna get tired, dude.
Yep.
So there's no chance to rest in a 3 minute match.
Yep.
So yeah, dude, when the high intensity, and I was like, oh Jesus, like I had an amazing time. It was fun training. And then got me right back. So if you come back from a trip and you haven't done anything, a lot of people say, oh, you gotta go easy eating, go through the stage that you first start moving a little bit, doing some light weights. do a few rounds only. Dude, I advise people to do that too. For
Yeah.
me, it doesn't work. I come back the first day back, I'm already doing my wrong. I'm doing my lifting, I'm doing
Yeah.
jujitsu, I'm surfing, doing everything I want. Second day, I do it the same way. Maybe the third way, I'm sore. Maybe my lower back hurts. I take a day off. Fourth day, I'm back at 1,000% again. And I'm back in shape. Within a week, I'm back. I'm good.
Yeah.
But
I went
to
up
take
to
it
uh
easy,
to
then different.
I went up to Costa Mesa to pick up a surfboard, and this was like, I don't know, this is like 8 months ago, and I was like, dude, I gotta go train there because I'm up here. So I like called ahead and I just went in and did like a drop in at AOJ, and it's such a sick academy, like just like just the aesthetic of it, like with all the white and the concrete and the artwork and stuff. And I went and I walked by this dude when I walked in who had like huge cauliflower ears, right? Super nice guy, but he was like very clearly the dude. I don't know who it was, but he clearly trains a lot. And we went through and like we did some really cool technique stuff, and then we did like some light rolls, and then I stood up and I was like looking for a partner, and he was like, "Let's train," and I just got throttled, dude, for like just throttled for like 6 minutes straight. I mean, it was such a tough roll, and I was so happy at the end. Like I just got wrecked, and I drove home like so stoked. It just felt so good to be pushed outside of the comfort zone again like that. I don't know what it is, but the like that feeling is very hard to replicate. I think it's one of the reasons why this stuff is so fun because it gives you something you can't go buy. Dude. You can't go buy the feeling of having trained super hard. You have to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta put in that work, and is it possible to recreate that feeling any other way? Uh, and you really gotta earn it. That's
Yeah.
pretty much how it goes. You gotta earn that feeling, and it may take 40 minutes of exhaustion. It may take 20 minutes of a high intensity workout. Sometimes I do rower, two 2,000 meters as fast as I can. That's about 7 minutes of a workout. Feels like
Yeah.
hell. I'm about to puke, but
Yep.
it's about the intensity that I put in, right? The life that you put into your workout, into the commitment that you have to finish your work, and then at the end when you're lying on the ground exhausted for a good cause, and it's no better feeling. It's no better
Is
feeling.
there is there anything that fatherhood has taught you that jujitsu didn't?
Man, Jiu-Jitsu has taught me a few stuff, but nothing compares to fatherhood. That's just now people sometimes say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna wait till I'm ready." I'm like, "You're not ready. I wasn't ready." Like we wanted to have a child. We
Yeah.
tried to have a child. We had a child, and then I'm a white belt. I'm a white belt in everything, and then you just gotta learn stuff again.
Yeah.
See things as brand new for the first time again. And it's a trip. Go back to my own childhood. Brought me back a bunch of memories as well.
Yeah.
Um, Made me think like how do I want to treat people, how I want to treat my son, how I want to treat others around me, like the type of role model I want to be for my child. The Some of the things made me improve in so many areas. And of course, when you're young and selfish, and you're doing things for yourself and you're taking from the world, it's a different stage. Then when you get married, then you're trying to build something with someone, then you got to give up so many things that don't feel like you're giving up, but it just feels like you're transitioning into a new stage. And then when you have child, it's same thing, just another transition, and so much learning comes with it. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's a trip,
Well,
trip.
soon you will be a black belt in fatherhood as well. Francisco, it's been so awesome having you on the show, man. It's been really a pleasure, and I want to say thank you for taking the time to be here, of course. And I look forward to coming out and training again with you guys. It's a blast over there. Really good, like I said, technical, pragmatic, awesome instruction.
My pleasure, man. And I also open the invitation to anyone who's around the area. San Diego, North County, stop by, shoot me a text, let's train. Our gym, to be honest, the only person that competes is me. Maybe I have another student that will compete every now and then. Like we're not competitors at all. We just
But it's good training.
lifestyle. We're just a lifestyle gym. We push each other hard. We like to be uncomfortable. That's the thing. We love being uncomfortable. We love to grow. We all grow together. So if you ever want to stop by and check out what we're all about, have fun with the vibes, more than welcome.
Yep. And there'll be a link in the show notes to the gym. So check it out. Thank you, brother.
A pleasure. Take care.